Welcome to the 2022 Arbor Day Virtual Tour. Today, we will be taking you on a walk through the newest park in Southern Pines. Located at 490 PD Road, the 157-acre property known as Whitehall was purchased by the town in December of 2020. The 157 acres of rolling land abuts the town's 150-acre reservoir park. We hope you enjoy the tour. Located just off of PD Road, there is a small parking area for trail access where you can enjoy 2 miles of trails surrounding the property. The trail dates back to 1991 when former property owner David Drexel approached Sandhills Area Land Trust, otherwise known as SALT, to establish a conservation easement. This act of conservation will keep this area undeveloped with walking trails for public use for many years to come. Following the wide trail from the parking lot, you will see an area predominantly forested by longleaf pines. The longleaf pine is distinguished by its long needles, large stature, and large pine cones. Check out this mature longleaf pine forest. Did you know that preserving areas like this requires prescribed burns? By performing scheduled prescribed burns, this helps in the reproduction of trees, replaces declining trees, and maintains an open forest life. The young longleaf pine tree emerges on bare soil in the winter as 2 pine needles. It cannot sprout through thick pine straw or grass. Therefore, the need for regular burning or raking with the removal of understory species not indigenous to longleaf pine forests is a necessity in the livelihood of growth. Some of the larger trees in this forest are at least 80 years old. Check out all the pine cones along the path as well as around the base of the trees. Did you know that trees must be at least 30 years old before they produce pine cones? The cones that you see here took several years to mature. The seeds twirl down from the cones in the late fall and early winter. Over the next 5 to 8 years, the grass-like tree increases the number of needles in the clump. During this period of growth, the tree is developing an extensive root system. The tree looks similar to the needle grass that grows in a longleaf pine forest. The longleaf pine has a bright green color that distinguishes it from the tannish needle grass. As the tree matures, it will develop a stem and the needles will grow along the stem. After 5 to 8 years in the grass-like stage, the longleaf pine enters the bottle brush stage. It produces needles along the trunk and then a pom-pom of needles in several locations along the trunk. During this stage, it grows about 2 feet per year. After 9 to 15 years, the tree starts to grow branches and becomes what is known as a sapling. The tree is tall and spindly during this stage of growth. As pines mature, the top area of the tree becomes wider with a flat top. It is likely that this pine grew in a forest environment and the surrounding pine trees were removed to make this open field. As you make your way down the trail and onto the property, you may come up on markings denoting red-cockaded woodpecker nests. This area is attractive to the red-cockaded woodpecker, which is an endangered and protected species native to this area. The red-cockaded woodpecker nests exclusively in longleaf pine trees in an open longleaf pine forested setting. Trees that have an active or inactive nest are identified on this property with a marker. The birds nest in trees at least 80 years old. It is easier for the birds to create cavities in the heartwood of an older tree, but still may take several years for the birds to excavate a nest cavity, which is 1 to 2 feet deep. A cluster of trees with cavities for nests is in this area of Whitehall. Several of the longleaf pines have more than one nesting cavity. The red-cockaded woodpecker is the only species that excavate cavities for nesting in living pine trees. Many other species use these holes, such as other birds, snakes, bats, and squirrels. If a nesting pair is run out of its nest cavity, it must construct another cavity in the same tree in the nesting cluster of trees. As you look closely at the trees, you will see a whitish sheen on the tree trunk, which is the pine's sap. The birds peck at the tree to make the sap seep onto the trunk. The sap is slick and makes it difficult for a snake or other creatures to climb up on the trunk to invade or occupy the nest. If a tree has a light-colored sap, it likely has an active red-cockaded woodpecker nest. Enjoy checking out all the other wonderful wildlife you might see on the property, but please do not disturb their habitats. Follow me. Let's check out some of the other trees here on the property. Check out this beautiful Carolina cherry laurel, a native species. The Carolina cherry laurel provides berries that birds and other animals survive on. Insects visit the flowers when it blooms in late winter and early spring. Other mid-story species in these woods include privet, wax myrtle, holly, and viburnum. Of these species, privet is considered an invasive species. It is not native to North Carolina. Again, regular prescribed berms remove these species and make the forest open and attractive to the red-cockaded woodpecker. Another tree on our tour is the American holly, a native species with red berries that are visually attractive and eaten by a wide range of birds and other wildlife. It is widely used as an ornamental plant in constructed landscape. Oh wow, look at the southern magnolia, which is a traditional landscape plant in the South. It is a large, hardy evergreen with scented flowers in the spring. The seed heads provide food for wildlife. The ever so popular dogwood is North Carolina's state tree. This adaptable plant is gorgeous in bloom with pink and white colors. Among the many birds that enjoy its berries is the bluebird. It grows on the edge of woodlands and is a lovely ornamental small tree. There are other dogwoods native to the area, including some that like wet areas and have red stems. This white pine, located behind, as well as to the side of the home, is not native to Moore County. It is a useful landscape plant with a pale yellow-green color, open parallel branching structure, and graceful form. This red cedar is a tough plant that provides locations for birds and as well as nutrition for birds. Its aromatic wood detracts moths and other insects and has been used for furniture to store textiles. This native conifer has a wide range of genetic variation, thus comes in many hues, shapes, and sizes, which are on this property of Whitehall. The red cedar has a huge habitat from the mountains to the coast of North Carolina. As you wander around the property, just beyond the barn, there's a magnificent pecan grove. Follow me and we'll check it out. This beautiful grove was farmed many years ago. Although the pecan tree is not native to North Carolina, the pecans harvested were used as an important food source in the winters, as well as a source for farm families in the areas for generations. The nuts are high in protein and easily stored. The holes in this tree were likely made by a yellow belly sapsucker, but do not appear to have hurt the vitality of the tree. Several species of hickories are native to North Carolina and closely related to the pecan family. This beautiful 6,000 square foot home sits just off to the right of the entrance path and overlooks 16 acres of open space. The original estate was owned by the Drexel family and later sold to the Shermans in 1999, who then sold the property to the town in December of 2020. This concludes the 2022 Arbor Day virtual tour of the Whitehall property. We hope you've enjoyed roaming around learning about the different species of trees in the park. Be sure to stop and visit and take the opportunity to explore its overall beauty on your own. And who knows, you may see one of the red-cockaded woodpeckers in their natural habitat in one of the longleaf pines.